Well, it's Friday night, and it's time to get going on the mini snowcat again. Tonight, I plan on getting the second set of snowmobile sliders retrofitted to have the wheels further out, kind of like I did on the first one there. And then hopefully I have enough time to start to get the track slider assemblies attached to the snowcat chassis. So, don't really have much else to say right now. I'm just going to get started. I interrupt this time-lapse video to give you a real-time update. So, I have these new axle carriers attached to the front of the track, and through that I'm going to soon weld up this piece from the previous track setup right in the middle there, and that's going to become the new carrier for the front wheels. And I'm going to use this top part of the arm to actually attach onto the front crossbar of the snowcat. So before I commit to anything else, I think what I'm going to do is get the other track stripped down, get it modified and pretty much to the same state as this track, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so here we are. I've got both of the track slider units prepped up. The front bearing plates are now installed, and I'm going to bring the chassis out for the snowcat and get the track onto the drive shaft and get one of these suspensions in place and start measuring up exactly how I'm going to attach these sliders onto the chassis and seeing how everything fits together. So that's coming up next. we've got the suspension now moved into the track. I've got the track on the front drive shafts, and that's kind of how I'm wanting it to sit. It's got a good angle at the front for clearing obstacles and whatnot. And so now it's kind of hard to see inside here because it's pretty dark. But this bar here is attached to the tube that the front idlers sit on. So I'm going to eventually bring that so it's kind of pointing straight up in here. And then the other pivot, this big one here, runs there to there, is going to intersect with that one up at the front here. And I'm going to make a pivot attachment, probably a pair of tabs, like one on each side here, one over on the other side, and then that will pin together. And that will be how the slider attaches to the frame up at the front. And then I'll just have to figure out how to attach it at the back to the chassis. That's going to be an interesting task. So I apologize, I don't have a lot of time-lapse video. Just working through getting the whole front mounting point determined. Really took quite a while. Just trying to find the right combination of pieces of metal and figuring out how I needed to get this all set up was quite a bit of just measuring. What I ended up doing in the end is measuring from this 1/4 inch plate here to the center of the drive shaft, and then determining what that measurement was, and then going and doing the same thing from the frame rail to the center of the suspension. And so it worked out quite conveniently that if I used a piece of 3/8 flat bar there and a piece of 3/8 flat bar there, and that's just going to get welded on as a nice tab. That centers the whole track assembly right with the drive shaft. So I'm going to leave that as it is now, and the next part that I need to determine is by how much I'm going to need to shorten this arm here, because the front, as you can see here, the front of the track here actually needs to be quite a bit further forward when we look at this side. So it needs to come forward a bit, and what I'll do is I'm just using one track and one suspension in and one suspension out of the track, and then I'm able to measure back and forth to each side. So it kind of makes it easier, less putting together and taking apart, and I can just kind of compare each side. But yeah, it's been quite time consuming, but I'm quite pleased with how this is coming together so far. made some terrific progress. I was able to get that front support bar shortened, and I have more or less the setup for the front idlers and how that's all going to get tied into the chassis. I was able to use the same mounting rod across the front here, so this is exactly how it was on the snowmobile previously. You can see here I shortened these bars by about 3.5 inches. They look crooked, but that's just kind of the angle of the camera. And then I used this extra piece in here, and that's going to transfer a lot of the load down onto that front set of idlers. And yeah, it's looking really good. I'm very happy with this. So the next step is to copy and paste this exact setup to the other side of the machine now. Well, we are one step closer to a rolling chassis. I managed to get both the right and the left track sliders mounted, and the entire front of the vehicle now is being supported by the track assembly. All that's left right now is to get those back support arms to hold up the rear end, and we are going to be in great shape. I'm very pleased with where things are. I'm going to take a break right now and get back to this later on.